Some fans are saying it is way too early to sound the alarm. I disagree. When Justin Herbert's most important protector disappears for 4 practices, the pressure has to rise, even with better news about the tendon. Bolt fam, get ready. Today we are separating smart caution from passivity, confronting a bold idea for the backup quarterback job, and breaking down the battle Mike McDaniel has created in the backfield. Depth cannot be treated like a minor detail. An ambitious season can break exactly where a roster gets comfortable. If you demand transparency and courage from the Chargers too, subscribe right now. These decisions will demand answers. 4 straight absences changed the conversation. Rashan Slater got hurt during the August 4th practice, returned to the field for the next 2 days, and then received a rest day on Saturday. Except that rest day turned into an absence on Sunday, another on Monday, and another on Tuesday. For an average player, that would already deserve attention. For the man responsible for protecting Justin Herbert's blind side, it demands complete vigilance. Jim Harbaugh finally provided one piece of information that eases the worst fear. He believes the issue is minor, described it as a muscle injury, and said it is unrelated to Slater's repaired patellar tendon. That distinction matters a lot. Slater lost an extended stretch because of that rupture, so any new issue in the leg immediately drags the fanbase back toward the cruelest possible scenario. Learning that the tendon is not involved lets everyone breathe. Completely relax? Not yet. The team has not publicly identified the specific muscle involved. People who watched practice in San Diego saw the medical staff working around his left leg, but Harbaugh did not confirm that detail and directed reporters to ask Slater himself. So the responsible read stays simple. There is a muscle issue, the head coach considers it minor, and the timetable remains open. This is where my frustration comes in. The Chargers gain nothing by rushing Slater back just to satisfy curiosity in August. He is working through his heaviest stretch of football since the playoff game against Houston in the 2024-25 season. Muscles react to workload, and early camp is the least damaging time to manage something like this. But calling it minor while missed practices keep stacking up requires daily attention, not comfortable silence. Harbaugh plans to play the starters for one series against the 49ers next week. If Slater participates, he can rebuild timing with a reshaped offensive line. If he does not, Los Angeles must use every rep to test the protection without him. The relief is real. A major disaster appears to have been avoided. The urgency is real too. Herbert cannot enter September protected by hope. That concern about protection leads us to a different kind of insurance policy, this time behind Herbert. A proposal has surfaced that will split Bolt Nation right down the middle. Make a move for JJ McCarthy, who sits behind Kyler Murray in the situation now being presented in Minnesota. The logic does not begin with a need for a starter. Herbert owns this offense. No debate. The conversation exists because the quarterback room currently features Trey Lance and DJ Uiagalelei, while McCarthy offers a different combination of youth, pedigree, and history with Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh coached him at Michigan and became one of his biggest advocates before the draft. Add Mike McDaniel, a coach capable of designing clean answers for quarterbacks, and the development environment starts making sense. But Bolt fam, here is where the story gets interesting. Making sense as a destination does not mean making sense at any price. Yardbarker's Ernesto Cova listed the Chargers among the most likely options and suggested McCarthy could rebuild his value away from the pressure of starting immediately. The idea brings to mind paths taken by Sam Darnold and Mac Jones, quarterbacks who left worn-out situations and found better conditions to play. That is a comparison of possible career paths. It is not a promise of the same result. McCarthy missed his entire rookie season after suffering a knee injury in training camp. Then, according to the scenario presented, he struggled through the 2025-26 season, while Darnold's rise and Minnesota's decision to go with Murray squeezed his place in the organization. That history pushes the price down and helps explain why the conversation lands somewhere between a 4th and 6th round pick. It also explains the risk. Los Angeles would not be buying ready-made security. It would be buying a development swing. I would be aggressive, but I would not be reckless. A 6th round pick? I am very interested. A 5th, with conditions tied to future playing time? I am still listening. A clean 4th rounder for a backup surrounded by questions about his knee and his performance? That is where the appeal of the reunion starts getting far too expensive. The Chargers have to think across 2 timelines. In the first, McCarthy learns without being rushed, reconnects with Harbaugh's language, receives technical coaching from McDaniel, and becomes legitimate insurance if Herbert has to miss games. In the second, he rebuilds his value and turns into a trade asset. That would be smart roster management. There is also a third timeline. Los Angeles spends draft capital, gives up a roster spot, and discovers that the same limitations that cost McCarthy ground are still there. Trey Lance already has familiarity with McDaniel from their time in San Francisco, Francisco, and he has been taking the second-team reps. A trade would change a competition that currently looks close to settled. It would also force the Chargers to decide how many quarterbacks they are willing to carry. You cannot yell, "Michigan reunion," and expect magic to take care of everything. The emotional fit is obvious. The competitive fit still has to be earned. My position is direct. Monitor Minnesota. Let the price fall. Strike only if the cost reflects the risk. A team with Herbert should never negotiate like it is desperate for a quarterback. It should negotiate like a smart contender trying to survive the unpredictable without draining resources from the protection, the weapons, or the defense. Depth can save January. Ego can cost you September. That same discipline, refusing to hand out anything based on reputation, shows up in the backfield. Kimani Vidal carried the Chargers when Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris were out, producing 525 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on 117 carries between weeks 6 and 13. He played 72.3% of the offensive snaps over that stretch. When this offense needed someone to work the full shift, Vidal took the load. Even after that, 2026 does not come with a reserved seat. Hampton enters surrounded by expectations of a lead role, while Keaton Mitchell brings the kind of acceleration that naturally fits Mike McDaniel's outside zone rushing attack. Vidal is not as explosive, and his skill set appears better suited for vertical runs and the gap concepts Greg Roman used. That difference does not eliminate him. It forces the coordinator to recognize value beyond the most spectacular carry. McDaniel said Vidal and Mitchell are both high-quality players who can be trusted with the football. He also pointed out that the violence of the position usually demands 3 starters across an NFL season. Fair statement. It is also a warning. Opportunities will come, but the hierarchy must be produced. Vidal can pass protect, he can catch, he can earn tough yards and help in the red zone. Those jobs do not always create highlight clips, but they keep an offense alive when the beautiful play disappears. If Mitchell wins the RB2 role, Vidal can still force this staff to design a package for him. If he cannot keep pace, he could reach mid-season watching Hampton and Mitchell absorb almost all the oxygen. For anyone who thinks the other two backs' explosiveness already ends this debate, answer one question. Who do you want on the field when the defense threatens pressure and Herbert has to trust the protection? Drop your read in the comments, and do not let anybody off easy. That detail separates real depth from improvisation. Vidal is not asking for a favor. He is asking for a competition where past production matters without replacing what happens now. McDaniel's answer about Vidal becomes even more provocative once we pull the camera back and look at all 3 running backs. Anyone searching for a fixed carry percentage is not going to get it. The coordinator plans to use Hampton, Mitchell, and Vidal in just about every game, adjust the ratio to the opponent, and ride the hot hand once the game reveals which style is hurting the defense most. That may frustrate fantasy managers. For the Chargers, it could become a vicious weapon. Hampton still projects as the lead runner and should receive a heavy share of the opportunities. McDaniel even joked that the good news for fantasy players is that all 3 backs can produce at a high level. The bad news is that nobody knows which games will belong to which player. Behind the joke sits a clear philosophy. Keep fresh legs attacking a defense that cannot rotate its own players at the same speed. Think about the wear and tear. Hampton attacks with volume and the ability to take control of a game. Mitchell enters with enough speed to turn one crease into an explosive gain. Vidal brings pass protection, receiving ability, and the toughness to handle situations where the offense has to remain unpredictable. These are not 3 versions of the same running back fighting over one football. They are 3 different tools capable of forcing a defense to handle multiple rhythms without any warning. The danger begins when rotation turns into anxiety. If Hampton is taking over, do not pull the power out of the offense just to satisfy a distribution imagined on Tuesday. If Mitchell is ripping apart pursuit angles, keep feeding the explosion. If Vidal is solving blitzes and keeping third downs alive, respect what his presence does for Herbert. Riding the hot hand only works when the coach is willing to leave the script before the defense catches up. McDaniel showed in Miami that he can keep other running backs involved even while Devon Achane receives major volume. Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon II still found opportunities. Los Angeles offers a different room with different players, but the precedent shows that McDaniel does not treat depth like decoration. He hunts matchups. He changes speeds. He tries to make every substitution present a different problem for the defense. Omarion Hampton should still lead this group in carries and total touches if he stays healthy. I would be stunned by anything else. But being the number 1 back does not require monopolizing the offense. A true workhorse benefits when he reaches the 4th quarter with enough burst left to crush a tired front. This committee does not have to diminish Hampton. It can protect him while raising the efficiency of the entire offense. It also turns every camp rep into a real battle for Mitchell and Vidal. The best outcome is not choosing one winner and hiding two useful players. It is reaching Sunday with 3 answers, forcing the defense to guess which one comes next, and making sure one hit cannot destroy the entire rushing plan. If McDaniel gets this balance right, Herbert will gain something he has rarely had: an offense that can shift gears without dumping the full weight of the game right back onto his arm. Today's message is not comfortable. Depth only matters when a coach trusts it before the emergency arrives. Slater needs time, but his absence demands answers. McCarthy deserves monitoring, never a blank check. Vidal, Mitchell, and Hampton must turn competition into variety, not confusion. Los Angeles has enough talent to attack the AFC. Now it has to manage risk with the same aggression it uses to chase an advantage. Bolt fam, I need your opinion on this one. Where should the Chargers be toughest right now? Protecting Slater, setting the price for McCarthy, or dividing the backfield work? Open the debate in the comments, hit like, and demand greatness with me.